The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "Gird your loins and light your lamps, and be like servants who await their master's return from a wedding, ready to open immediately when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds vigilant on his arrival. Amen, I say to you, he will gird himself and have them recline at table and proceed to wait on them. And should he come in the second or third watch and find them prepared in this way, blessed are those servants." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Jesus Christ.
St. John of Capistrano was born about 100 years or so after St. Francis. He was a member of the Franciscan order. Or at that point, Franciscan family of orders, really, because Francis himself was not even dead yet, and his groups of followers and his order began actually to fragment and to break up into different interpretations of his rule and his way of life. That's part of another reflection. But the point is that few, if any, of the followers of St. Francis found themselves really capable of fully, totally, completely, in everything, adopting his way of life. And so what we find is an effort during those first couple of generations after St. Francis. We find an effort to continue to reform the order in various ways that would preserve the heart and the spirit of St. Francis in a way that was possible for a variety of sorts of people with various gifts. And one of the most interesting and I think important directions that reform took was to discover ways of welcoming people who were intellectual and highly skilled in the various, shall we say, secular arts of our world. And John of Capistrano was one of those. He was a very brilliant jurist, as well as a theologian, as well as a diplomat, as well as a preacher. So he had a whole variety of gifts to be able to exercise that others recognized and supported in him. But he was firmly grounded in the way of St. Francis, in that radical poverty, that is, emptying yourself of everything that is not God, allows God then to fill you and to move you in the direction that God himself sees as needed for the church. St. John of Capistrano is always trivialized, if you will, because of his mission down in the city that is named after him, being kind of a refuge for birds that come and migrate in the spring. And that's all very, very nice, but there is much more to John of Capistrano than just that. And he is one who lived his poverty by placing, not denying his gifts, his intellectual gifts, his various abilities to influence people in our world. Not denying those gifts, but using poverty to place those gifts at the service of God and his people, at the service of the church. So for us, I think the lesson is kind of what Jesus is saying to us also in the gospel. Be prepared to let the Lord use your gifts. Don't deny your own gifts, your own possibilities, your own capabilities, even if you're a nonagarian or a centenarian. You still have gifts, you still have possibilities, you still have opportunities for serving those who are around you. And you do that according to whatever gifts that you have. And so, let's pray for each of us to be able to realize our gifts and place them at the service of God and his people.